Many gatherings that we have been blessed to have, that our ummah today is large in number. It has great military strength. It has powerful political leaders. It has some of the richest people on earth. But at the same time, we are struck with calamity. We are struck with injustice, humiliation. This should not be for a powerful nation. And so the beautiful body of Islam has something missing on the inside. And it is that struggle for the internal Muslim.
Bam. Reach the words of Assalamu alaikum, which means peace and blessings be upon you. And I mentioned both Jesus and Muhammad's names. Peace be upon them both. They were both messengers of truth. In reality, you're looking at the Underground Railroad TV show. We come on every Saturday night at 10:30. Plus, we on YouTube. Okay. And I want to say hi to the people in the United States, Central America, Canada, Asia, Middle East, Africa,
Asia,
Europe,
Asia.
In Asia. Damn, I forgot Asia last time. Okay. But this is a worldwide show. Thank God for YouTube. Okay, but I have Brother Salim Akil from WVON radio station. That's 1690 AM on the dial. It sound like I'm on the radio. And he's a syndicated columnist too. And I have my co-host, Alderman Virgil Jones. Go for you. Thank you.
Well, I'm happy to be here with both of you.
Yes, sir. And Brother Salim,
I'm happy to be here as well.
Thank you for
thank you for the invitation.
Oh man, you welcome. Alhamdulillah. I've been listening to you for years. Love WVON. But please tell us something about yourself, and then we're gonna go.
Well, I was an elected official of ward committeeman of the Democratic Party. I was an alderman for almost 8 years.
Okay.
I have other things where I was a social worker, and I had a background working in the police department. So I'm very, very familiar with many, many, many things. And
you've been knowing Brother Salim Akil for years, but please.
Well, that was when my other side of my life, when I was
yes, sir,
doing some work with the Black Panther Party in my youth.
Yes, sir. Brother Salim, please tell us something about yourself, and please tell the people, listening audience, what station you come on and what days you come on so they can tune in on iHeartRadio, I think you say. But
yes, sir.
Okay.
iHeartRadio, get on your iHeartRadio apps.
Yes.
1690 on the dial, on the AM dial. I come on Monday morning, 7 to 8 on Matt McGill's morning show. I do my own show 7 to 9 on Wednesdays and 7 to 10 on Saturday evenings. So my history, I'm from the East Coast. I'm a graduate of Rutgers University. I was in the Air Force, U.S. Air Force. Wow. Spent some time in overseas. I was in the Air Force during the Vietnam conflict. Before I went in the Air Force, though, I had been kind of involved in the civil rights movement. I was there in '63.
Yes, sir.
When King spoke in D.C., although I wasn't there for the march, quite frankly, I was there for the women. But I bumped into the civil rights movement.
Yes, sir.
In my search for young ladies.
Yeah.
And I was there in '64 in the Harlem riots, the first of the long hot summer riots.
Yes, sir.
I was there then, and then I went in. I jumped out of the frying pan into the fire in the Vietnam conflict. When I got out, I got shot in the Air Force, not in conflict, but in Georgia by a white motel owner. When I came out of the service, rather than go home, I went to the Black Panther Party headquarters in Jersey City and became a Panther, joined up right then. I knew who my enemy was.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I became a Panther, and I did that for a while.
Yes.
And then I got involved in the Nation of Islam.
Yes, sir.
Became an editor at Muhammad Speaks, and that's how I got to Chicago.
Yes, sir.
Been here ever since.
Yeah. And Brother Salim, there's an issue that's going on. Certain representatives in Chicago believe that the National Guards should come to Chicago to help minimize the crime and the chaos that's going on in the community. Would you be against that? Are you for that if they were working in tandem with community leaders?
No, I wouldn't be with that, Cliff, because you see, the National Guard is a military unit. The function of a military is at odds with the function of domestic operations. That's why in this country they have something called posse comitatus, which is an official recognition of the different lanes that the military and the police department travel. They should not be confused because they have different missions, and if you get the military involved in this kind of mission, it will become distorted. They say that, you know, when you have a hammer, all problems look like nails. And that's exactly what would happen if you had the military in here as a crime suppressor.
Well, you know, I agree with you 100%. I'm glad you said that. I was waiting to hear what you were going to say. because I do not believe in the United States Army, and all the National Guard is a subsidiary of the United States Army. But it's still the government. That's why they had to talk about, with the problems going on now, for Congress to give some money to the National Guard for them to be operating. So that tells you that's not no state group. It's a federal group because they get their money, follow the money. Who's paying them? The federal government. And I don't believe in that at all because, for example, is New Orleans, a few other places. They showed you an example, all right, of what martial law is about, and that involves the military.
You know, Brother Salim, you know, there was congressional hearing that drones would be flying over the United States of America very soon, and there was not an outrage, a cry about it. What is your assessment of that? Some people say it's protecting America, and some people say that it is a violation and an intrusion on our privacy.
It is definitely that, man. A lot of people did cry about it, not just that their cries were not amplified by the media, because it is a frightening prospect that these kinds of aircraft will be deployed for all kinds of nefarious purposes. And as we see from Edward Snowden's revelations, the NSA, they consider all information their province. There's no boundaries that they won't transverse in order to get what they need in order to, you know, for the pretext of national security. We live in an increasingly national security state, where all of our freedoms, our civil liberties will be endangered by the requirements of security. And that's the danger of the drones. I think it's inevitable. We might as well get used to the technology because it's inevitable. And then, of course, other nations will have these drones, and they will consider it a product, a necessity for their own national security to do some maneuvers in this country, and then how, you know, how will we finesse that? We're all in Pakistan, Afghanistan, Seychelles Islands, all through Africa, Northern Africa, and even Southern Africa now, Zimbabwe, Namibia. There are drone bases being set up in Burkina Faso, the Seychelles Islands, and of course Niger in Northern Africa. All of these will become drone centers. Africa is going to become the center of drone technology. They're going to perfect it there. And as you pointed out, Brother Cliff, a post that you sent to my Facebook page about the miniaturization of these drones. They're going to be smaller than insects in some cases. So they're going to be so pervasive that you know, just about everywhere we look, man, there's going to be some drone flying around.
Well, they've perfected that all the way to the science of, you know, the big flies that we used to see when we were kids, where they have them that size, all right?
That's right.
And they could fly them in your house and let them fly around all day. And,
amazing.
And listen to everything you say. And
it's amazing, man. And you know, it's inevitable. We got to, you know, it's something that we have to contend with. And that's why it's very important, I think, for the American consciousness to be raised about this. And why the media needs to be more conscientious in revealing this information, man, because we have to put in some regulations, some regulatory boundary to prevent just the extreme use of these for whatever purpose government deems necessary. There would be no even a pretense of secrecy would be lost.
I want to ask you two questions. You familiar with the Majestic 12?
Well, I figured you would ask me one of those esoteric questions, my brother. Yeah, vaguely familiar.
Well, those are the 12 men who really run this country.
Yes, sir. And
they're replaced only at death. And that's part of their program, is to have complete control.
Full spectrum dominance is what they call it.
And there's a book called The Protocol of the Learned Elders of Zion. Have you read that?
Yeah. I don't have much confidence in that one any longer. At one point I was an advocate, but I learned how the czars influence that.
Yes. But you was going to say something. Okay.
I was going to say, well, the czars influenced it because of, in 1302, there was a guy named Bertacci, all right? And they decided what they would do is when they went off to fight in the Crusades, the knights would leave all of their property in trust to somebody who they trusted, and those who they trusted would become the trustee. But when they came back, they wouldn't give them their property back. So therefore, they became the owners of all of the property, and then they transferred all of their property to the Pope, and he began to own everything in the world.
Okay, so. And
that group, the Majestic 12, all right, is a part of that, all right? Okay. So, and the protocol of the Elders of Zion, some recent studying I've been doing, I find that the first protocol says, might is right, not right is might. Isn't that what's going on now?
Yeah. Well, there's no doubt about that.
Yes, sir.
All you got to do is look at Israel. In total defiance of all moral strictures, absolutely engaging in 19th century colonialism right before our eyes, man, in the 21st century. Well, no other nation is doing that.
A guy called on this show once and accused me of being anti-Semitic till I straightened him out and told him I couldn't be anti-Semitic because of my hue. And I asked him what was his hue, and he got quiet and he shut up like he should have. But you know, it's amazing about Israel. They're always talking about these other countries in the Middle East. How long they had nuclear weapons?
Exactly, man. They're pushing Iran to fess up to its nuclear programs, and Israel refuses to put itself under the regime of the Atomic Energy Agency, refuses to make its chemical weapons stores accessible to monitoring agencies, and has absolutely refused to get involved in any protocol that monitors their lethal weaponry, their weapons of mass destruction. And yet, and not only that, but it's the only nation in the region that has attacked other nations repeatedly. Iran has never attacked another nation.
Yes.
The only conflict Iran got into was with Iraq, and that was at our behest. We encouraged Saddam Hussein to do that, and we provided him with the chemical weapons he used to kill a lot of Iranians. Well, so Iran is not guilty of anything like that, but certainly mainly Israel is, and they're the ones who are leading the charge and condemning Iran for what it says is a harmless domestic program of nuclear enhancement.
Well, if you notice, though, Salim, when Muammar Gaddafi said I'll go and cooperate, where is he today?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's what someone was telling me about Assad. That's the next step for Assad. Once he agreed to get rid of his weapons of mass destruction, he's destined for extinction as well.
Yes.
But the Gaddafi story is a tragic tale, man. It's a horrendous tale of how we engineered a man who was doing so much for Africa, the African continent, that it's really feeling his loss right now.
Yeah. You know, Brother Salim, I want to ask you something about GMO. Genetically modified seeds. What is the danger of Monsanto's producing genetically created seeds? Is it good? Is it bad? And what is the danger?
Well, first of all, what they do is they patent seeds.
Okay.
They are monitorizing and commodifying the Earth's natural harvest, the people's property, essentially, the commons of humanity.
Yes.
They are commodifying it. So that's the most, that's almost an insult to the whole idea of what nature represents. To use profit, the profit motive, to to monopolize these. So that's the first thing. And then, we don't know really. There's been no science done extensively to determine what the effects of these GMOs are on the human organism.
Yes.
And they don't even care, really. They are infiltrating the agriculture of this country. There were, all kind of reports of these rogue fields of Monsanto wheat growing in various parts of Utah and Idaho.
Yes, sir.
And and that's some dangerous stuff. And Franken food, right?
I noticed that the people are getting larger. Because you know what I
Yes,
noticed that. I'm talking about the average height. It seems like the average height of a young lady has changed and a man has changed. But go ahead.
I'm reminded of Memorandum 2000 by Henry Kissinger.
Yes, sir.
Where he said that we must reduce the world's population to 500 million people.
Yeah, well, that there was a widespread belief at one point that if there weren't attempts to do that we would not only overpopulate the planet, but the whole eugenics, the motive behind eugenics was that the less able people tended to reproduce more than those who should be reproducing.
Yes.
And so there had to be artificial means to restrict the population growth of those without the intellectual capacity to rule the planet. And of course, there's a racial dimension to that. So yes, there was a lot of, and then there was the Malthusian thesis that if you didn't regulate population, that our natural proclivity was to overpopulate and become too numerous for our food supply. And therefore cause a civilizational decline.
Yeah. Brother Salim, what I want to ask you something about Eric Snowden, but basically I want to ask you about Twitter, Facebook, and Google's. All these things are collecting our information. Every time we go on the internet, we are being profiled.
Absolutely.
Is there a danger in that?
Oh yeah, man, it is, brother.
What danger? If a person is not doing anything wrong.
We're ensnared in this national security state. I don't know if we can unsnare ourselves, but I think I think the most important thing is to be aware of just what we're doing. That there's no such thing as if you want to do something on the down low, or if you don't want people to know about what you're up to. You have to find ingenious ways of doing that, because monitoring agencies are all over the place, and the national security state is all pervasive.
But you know what Alderman John always says about Facebook? When they started up, they was poured in Job's turkey. I don't know if that's true or not.
Well, it's true.
Well, Mark Zuckerberg, when he did it at Harvard, they were. I mean, they didn't have any revenue, but they had a lot of money on the side from alum and the parents of the folks who created Facebook. Yeah. But they didn't have the kind of capital that they have now, no doubt. They didn't have that.
Well, you know, when I was in prison, Salim, let me tell you, there was a paper that came in there, but we weren't supposed to have a copy of it. And it talked about how the Attorney General at that time, who was the female under Clinton, how she had recruited
Janet Reno.
All right. Well, Janet Reno had a sex change operation, first of all. And number two, she had allowed many people in all forms of media to become informants for the federal government. And it's my contention that many of those individuals who you all like and respect that are on Google and all of that, maybe they are a summation of what that whole order that she had given out came to.
What do you think about that, Brother Salim?
Well, there's a long tradition of that in this country, man. Recruiting the media for national security and intelligence work. COINTELPRO made that plain. There was a whole posse of reporters, especially at the Washington Post, who were part-time informants for the FBI. Yeah. And some of them, when they went on trips, on foreign trips with presidential parties, they would report what they found out back to intelligence sources. So there's no doubt about that. The media has often been used by the government to buttress its intelligence capacity.
I say it.
I remember at one point, and you know, when I first got into journalism in the AP, I was working for the AP in the daytime, and Muhammad Speaks at night. I would do the story for AP from the objective perspective, the mainstream American perspective, and then I would go home at night and revert to this raging Muslim and change the perspective of the story for Muhammad Speaks, and that taught me the difference in perspective and how journalists can really control what a lot of people think is going on in reality by your own perspective, by the way you present this news. And we had a certain kind of standard to present the news at the AP. But while I was at the AP, this cat who was working for the Newark Star Ledger was revealed by an underground newspaper called the East Village Other in New York that he was working with the CIA. Yeah. He was a well-known columnist in Newark, New Jersey, and that was a pretty big scandal at that time. Yeah. I don't think it would be a scandal today.
Yeah. Brother Salim, you know what, Adolf Hitler, if he would have had this type of technology during that time, do you think he would be doing some of the things that are going on right now in society?
I mean, look, you remember we used to well, Hitler's time, the SS, but then the inheritor of the SS's legacy was the Stasi state in East Germany. And everyone made fun or talked about the Stasi state with terror, that it was the boogeyman of all national security agencies. And the NSA is much more invasive and intrusive than that Stasi state was. Wow. Much more.
But part of some of the founders of the NSA were Nazis.
Yes, that's true.
That's a fact.
As the Stasi state was.
Exactly.
That came from the expertise that was developed among the SS in Germany, in Nazi Germany. They used that for the development of the Stasi state, and some of those agents and some of that technique also was infiltrated into this country and became a part of our law enforcement apparatus.
There's a book called Blowback and another book called The Fourth Reich, all right? You familiar with those?
I'm familiar with Blowback.
Well, the Fourth Reich is another book, and it tells about how they brought these individuals here into America because they were given instructions by Hitler that if they lost the war, to move their gold, their silver to the United States, okay? So that they could in turn join the CIA, the FBI, the State Department, and they
also Argentina was a prime location.
Yeah, well, that's where Hitler ended up.
You know what, Brother Salim, I didn't even know. You know what, Blowback? I'm gonna have to get that book and read it. But you know what, Brother Salim, we have like almost 2 minutes left. Do you have you may want to have some closing comments, something that we did not ask you, a message that you want to specifically convey, and please tell the people what time you come on, please.
Come on 7 to 8 Mondays, 7 to 8 in the mornings on Mondays, 7 to 9 at night on Wednesdays, 7 to 10 at night on Saturdays.
Okay, and
I think what the thing I guess that's important to talk about is how we need to be we need to get more involved in activism, man. We have to snap out of our lethargy, because the entire progressive movement of this country is based on and dependent on African American energy and activism and agency. And if we don't do it, if we don't get off our butt and start to demand certain kinds of activities out of this government, we've been hampered unfortunately by the fact that we have a black president. He's demobilized us because we don't want to protest and make it seem as if he's been a failure. His tenure has been unsuccessful.
Yes,
but
sir.
we need to become much more activated, man. The world is waiting for us, brother, and we are, we are sitting down on the job.
Yeah, well, Brother Salim, I want to, thank you for coming on Underground Railroad, and I hope that you will come back and people would, hey, look at this. Will be on YouTube, and I'll let you know when this is on YouTube, and I want to thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it as well.
Go ahead.
Well, one of the things I'll say quickly is what Johnson told Martin Luther King. I hear what you're saying, but make me do it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's what I'll close with. That's what I'll close with.
We didn't make Obama do anything.
We didn't make him do nothing, man. We gave him a pass, brother, because we want the brother to be successful, and we want to make the road easy for him. But it made it hard for us.
But people don't even understand, though, but all due respect, that he wasn't really the first black president. John Hanson was. But a lot of people don't know that.
Under the Articles of Confederation.
Right, Confederacy.
But, I thank you, and hi to Matt Perry and Miss Spam at WVON radio station.
The beacon in the dark, brother. WVON.
As I say to you, Matt, you be sure and tell my queen that I said hello, and we want her on the show too.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Brother Salim. GMO.